Hey guys, I'm Jackson Rollo, the host of the One and Done podcast. We're super excited to release season 3, and in season 3, we're going to be rolling out a new theme for the podcast. So over the first 2 years, our theme has been interviewing younger, successful people in any white-collar business, really just trying to teach our college students and anybody out there trying to figure out what they want to do at a young age, what businesses exist. With season 3, we're taking it a level deeper, and we're going to be interviewing people who are either co-founders or C-level executives at a very young age. So going from what they're doing in business to really showing that pinnacle of success, what it looks like to run a company, to found a company, the struggles of an entrepreneur, and what it looks like to grow a business and to lead people. We're super excited, and we want to welcome you to season 3 of the One and Done podcast. All right, guys, welcome back into another episode of the One and Done. Back in Salt Lake City. Where actually up in Utah are you? I know you said Salt Lake City, but where's that?
I'm actually 4 hours south of Salt Lake City. I'm in St. George, which is the southwestern corner. We're like an hour and a half from Vegas.
Yeah. I've never been. I heard it's awesome though. I heard it's like Arizona mixed with Utah. Is that a good description?
Yeah, it's at kind of the confluence point of like three different geographic areas, and it creates this kind of little oasis here in the corner in the desert.
I've heard it's beautiful golf courses too. That's what I've heard, which is why I love Arizona, but it's a little too hot, and I love Utah. So cool, man. Well, Chipper Whatcott, the co-founder of Mallow, is on today. Like I said, back up in Utah. You guys, man, y'all have all the tech startups, and you guys have a very entrepreneurial spirit out there. But why don't you tell the listeners here a little bit about you and your story?
Sure. I was born and raised here in St. George, actually, here in the southwestern corner. And we're proud Utahns, but we are, sort of our own breed down here. We're more in the desert than most of Utah. But yeah, I grew up a normal kid, played a bunch of sports, went to high school, served a 2-year service mission for my church in Mexico, and came back, went to college, studied marketing and started working in marketing, and eventually got really burned out on that and started my own businesses. And yeah, that brings us here today. Spent some time up in Salt Lake and back home in St. George.
I love it. So next time I'm in St. George, now I know somebody I can reach out to and say, hey, I need to know where all the good restaurants are, golf courses, places to stay, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to 2 different schools, Utah Tech University, which is right here in St. George. And then I also went to Utah Valley University, which is up in the Provo-Orem area, about 45 minutes south of Salt Lake.
Cool. And Utah Tech, man, what is y'all's mascot? It's killing me.
The Trailblazers.
The Trailblazers. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a big sports guy, so I'm like, man, I know I've heard of that. I can't remember it. So tell me this, because I've never asked anybody this on the show, because I don't know if I've had anybody necessarily that's went to school for marketing, but going to school for marketing and then working in marketing, what is the difference there? Like these kids who are going to school, I'm sure we have a lot of listeners on the podcast, right, who are going to school in marketing, because it's like the buzzword right now. It's like everybody wants to get in that. What's the difference between what you learn in school and then what it's actually like out in the real world with the jobs?
Oh man, in school you learn it like any profession or any degree. You learn the academic side of it. You learn the theories. You learn a little bit of how to put things into practice. But in most schools, you're being taught by an academic who learned the academic side of things and is teaching you the academic side of things. Some of them are applicable. A lot of them aren't. For me, I got a degree specifically in digital marketing, and so a lot of my senior year classes were applicable in the workplace. But the first 3 years of school, almost none of it was applicable. There's not a lot of times that you're using biology 1010 in a marketing degree. So, there's a little bit that was applicable, but a lot that wasn't. But honestly, the things that were applicable were very applicable. I was genuinely surprised.
So what's like one thing you took out of college that you still use today?
There's a lot of learning that I took from books, especially senior year. With my specific degree, we had certain kinds of business books that we had to read sort of as a class.
Yep.
And there's definitely some like stats and, pricing concepts and marketing tactics that that come back to me every once in a while when I'm thinking through a problem and how to solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just so everyone knows, like most of my guests, right? I find I'm like, basically, if you look young and you have a good title, I'm probably going to hit you up on LinkedIn and ask you if you want to join the podcast. But you caught my attention a little bit of a different way. Most people, they have their little post thing going on LinkedIn, right? They want to post every once in a while. And I've seen you post a couple times too, but you are like the comment king, dude. Like you always have like the smart little, comments going, and you just have an opinion on stuff that is always, I feel like is always spot on. I was like, I got to get this guy on the podcast. He has some things to say. But talk to me a little bit about, where you're at right now with Mallow. And then I know you just exited another company, Whelm. Tell us a little bit about your story there, and then we'll kind of dive into what it's like to run a business.
Sure. So I had my normal 9 to 5, like most people coming out of school, and I did that for a few years. I was in a job that frankly I hated, and it paid pretty well, and so I stuck with it, but I would come home every day and complain to my wife about it. And she was like, just quit. We have some savings. Just quit and go start your own thing. Because that was my lifelong dream, and she knew that. I wanted to start my own businesses. And I've wanted that ever since, I was in like middle school. That's what I knew I wanted to do one day. So she kept urging me, just quit, just quit, just quit. So finally I did. And we launched our own business. In fact, I launched our last business, Whelm, while I was still, a 9 to 5 employee. And then a few months in after launching that, I quit my job, went in full time on Whelm, kind of struggled through that. A lot of first time founders, especially in tech, you just kind of feel like you're beating your head against a brick wall.
Yeah.
And I did that for a solid 1.5 years, and then sold that business earlier this month, actually.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. We were happy to get away from it. It was great. It was a great learning experience, and the new owners are going to take it to new heights, and they're well positioned to do that. Their audience is exactly the audience that we're trying to target with Whelm. So they're getting something that's going to be great for them. For us, it was great to get away from it because we learned it didn't fit what we could bring to the table. Our skills weren't a match.
Yeah, and so as you kind of did that, you started up your new company. So tell us a little bit about Mallow, and I saw on your title says co-founder. So I'm sure you have somebody else there that is helping you out. So tell a little bit about that story.
Yeah, I brought in a co-founder about 6 months in or 8 months in to Whelm, the last business. He joined around that time and really helped propel us at Whelm to a different place that even made us possible to be acquired. Same co-founder. We're starting Mallow together. In fact, we started Mallow while we were still building Whelm. It was really small. It was kind of, we were just talking about it on a one-to-one basis, not really telling the world that it existed yet.
Yep.
And it became apparent pretty quick. It was like, okay, this fits our talents much better. We can do this a lot better than we can do Whelm. And so I had him just focus on Mallow full time. He's like, don't worry about Whelm, focus on Mallow, keep building. He's the dev guy. So, he's building the software. And I was just kind of covering for him on the Whelm side. And it got to the point where Whelm felt a little bit like a distraction because Mallow felt like that's where we needed to put our efforts, which led to us selling Whelm and focusing more on Mallow. But yeah, same co-founder. So going from one thing to the next together.
I love it. That's awesome, man. So talk to me a little bit about the company. Tell me a little bit about what you guys do. And then, would love to hear, obviously, how long you been going on Mallow now?
I think we officially created the business in April of this year.
Okay.
So it's been a few months is all.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the business, and let's talk about maybe some of the big challenges you guys have already encountered, 4 months in.
Every challenge feels like a big challenge. So it's a software company. We've built a platform that is specifically for small marketing agencies. It does contracts and proposals and payments. So it's kind of that end of the sales cycle when as the agency owner, you're talking to a prospective new client. You're getting them to that point where it's time for them to sort of make a decision, and they need to either come with you or go with whoever else they're talking to. Our software facilitates that process. Get the proposal to them, get them a contract to sign, and start getting paid.
Yeah, you know what's funny to me as we talk about this, something that's been on my mind lately is a lot of like marketing, I would call them marketing firms, right? As an outsider to that industry. But in my industry, it's insurance agencies, right? Like that's the common vernacular. But now insurance agencies are wanting to be called insurance firms. And then these marketing firms are wanting to be called marketing agencies. It's like we just replaced the word that we think is cool, right? And so I always hear everybody talk that, oh, whenever we're talking about the agency, I'm like, wait, they're not talking about insurance. They're talking about marketing, you know? So it's just, it's an interesting dynamic. But no, man, that's cool. So how did you stumble across like that needing to be a solution? And then how's the first 4 months gone of that company?
Yeah, the solution came about, or the idea for this solution came about because of our last company, Whelm. Whelm was built specifically for freelancers. It was doing a similar thing, not the same, but a similar thing for freelancers, kind of a one place to manage all of your freelance work. Yep. And we had multiple agencies approach us asking for, hey, can we use Whelm to manage our agency? And we always had to say, yeah, you can, but you're going to hate it because it's not built for you. It's built for a freelancer. Yep. And there was like one or two agencies that tried it, and they promptly stopped trying it because it wasn't built for them. We had sort of this internal discussion going of, do we want to try this new thing? Do we want to try to build something for agencies? There was a couple of fortunately timed conversations with prospective customers that were agencies. And we said, you know what, we could build this for you if you guys want it. And they said, yeah, we would kill for this. And so I said, give me a sec, give me a couple weeks. Let me call around. Let me talk to some agencies and make sure that this is a widespread need, something bigger than just you. And we decided internally, if we find 5 agencies that want this, we'll build it. And sure enough, we found 5 within a few weeks and started building it. And now we're here.
Wow. That's awesome, man. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of other technology companies, because like we work with tons of them, right, in my business, they're usually the main ones are usually just like, yeah, we can do it, right, and they'll slap something together and give it to you. But I feel like the best ones have the attitude that you're mentioning here, which is, hey, I don't know if this is a big enough problem, right? And if it is a big enough problem, why don't we build something specific to do exactly what you're looking for? Not just, it has the capability of doing 10% of what you need, but you're going to get frustrated with the other 90% of what the tool does, and you're going to be overpaying and frustrated by it. So I think there's a lot of discernment on your part. Can you expand on that a little bit? Like why did you take that approach, when those clients were coming to you asking that?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's almost counterintuitive, right? It's like, well, somebody's asking me for it. Obviously, there's a need in the market for this. But without verifying that, it could just be a one-off use case. And that's the problem we ran into with Whelm. We thought that this was a bigger need that many freelancers would be willing to pay to have solved. And there were a few. We had some paying customers, but the reality is we didn't have enough, and we couldn't figure out a way to get enough paying customers to make it a sustainable business going forward. And that's my fault. I didn't go out and verify that this problem existed and that there were people willing to fork out the money for us to build them that solution.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do the opposite approach with Mallow. It's like, unless there are people willing to put up the money, I'm not going to build this because it's, I'm just building something for building's sake, not because people are actually willing to pay for it. So getting that validation ahead of time, I think, is really the only way you should ever build a tech company.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You kind of mentioned that your co-founder, his strength is on the development side. What's your strength? What's kind of the superpower that you bring to your businesses?
Sometimes I ask myself the same question.
Humility, then. That's good. Okay, we'll check that box off.
Yeah, check. No, the marketing side and the if you were, we don't have, because we're just two co-founders, we don't have like executive titles.
Yep.
But if we did, he would be the CTO, the chief technical officer. I would be the CEO, the chief executive officer. So kind of seeing the day-to-day, running the business, in something so small where it's just the two of us. He's doing all the dev stuff, and I'm doing sales and marketing and customer service and partnerships and anything else that really isn't dev. Because dev is hard. Dev takes a lot of time. And so if I can alleviate all of that from him, we're both in better places.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what are some of the things you run into over your first couple of months, and then where's the trajectory for Mallow in the future?
So far, it's been a lot of issues with building, and we can build the software, frankly, quite easily. It takes time, but my co-founder, Ben, he's great, and he can build whatever we need. But it's been hard to wait for it to happen. And it's been hard to, because we're processing payments, we have a payment processing partner, because we're not a payments company. There's so many regulations with that yep. We don't want to spend the $1 million that it takes to become a payment processor. So we're partnered with a payment processing company, but the act of going through underwriting with them and building out our integration into their system and setting it up so that they're processing the payments in the background, and we're building the business in the public eye, that process takes a while, and you're dealing with other companies that you can't control.
Yep.
You can't put the clamps down and say, hurry it up a little bit here. You just kind of have to sit back and wait and hope that things go faster. And especially with payments, like, it's a heavily regulated industry. And so they have to do their due diligence and their underwriting and make sure things are good to go. And we just kind of have to twiddle our thumbs and wait.
Yeah. So, as you kind of run into some of those things, and you mentioning, if you had an executive title, it'd be the CEO. What is it that you think makes a great leader? Whether there's two people in your company and you're both co-founders, or there's 2 million, what makes a great leader in any organization, specifically like where you and I sit every day on the sales and marketing side of the business?
Yeah. That's a hard question to answer, because I think you need a different kind of leader at different stages. For something like 2 people, you just need someone who's tenacious and ambitious and is willing to go after it, and maybe a little bit shamelessly go after it.
Take a lot of risk.
Yeah. You have to be risk averse, or you can't be risk averse. And you have to just be willing to put yourself out there. And if you kind of feel like an idiot, you do it anyways, because it's what has to get done. Yep. The person who goes from 0 to 1 might be the same person who goes from 0 to 10, but is likely not the same person who goes from 10 to 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why you see all these startups that they get to a point where they're really profitable and things are cruising, but they need to scale really fast, and they bring in a whole new CEO. So for a company like ours, I think I can do the job that we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I do it from 10 to 100? I don't know. I don't know if it's in my DNA. It's a totally different ballgame. There's politics involved. There's, at that point you have to have a full HR team, and you have to manage people's expectations very differently. And that one of my previous jobs, I worked at a company called Whatcott. They're a really successful tech company here in Utah. They've got clients all over the world, and the CEO is the same CEO that was there at the beginning. He and his cousin built it together. And his cousin is the CTO, and he's the CEO, and they're taking this thing to 100. They're a great fit for that. But something that impressed me with him is when I got hired there, on my first day, he comes walking over to me. He sat probably 100 yards away from me. He comes walking over and walks up next to my desk, puts his arm on my shoulder, and he says, "So you're Chipper, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, hi." And he goes, "Hi, I'm Steve." And I'm like, "Oh, you're Steve. You're the CEO." "Hi, Steve. Good to meet you." And he kind of squats down, because I was sitting in a chair. He kind of squats down to get eye level with me, and we have a conversation for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. He's from Chicago, so we're talking about the Cubs because I'm a big Cubs fan. And he took the time to take 5 minutes and have a conversation one-to-one and establish a relationship. And that has left an impression on me. Even now, it's been 3.5, 4 years since that day. And I look back on it like, man, Steve didn't have to do that. He was doing a million things. The company was growing like 400% every year. Like it was just popping at the seams. He could have easily just walked on by and done whatever was on his calendar, because I'm sure it's packed every single day. But he took the time to like get to know the new employee. And I think that speaks to his character. That definitely provided buy-in from me as the new employee. I was like, yeah, I want to go to war for this guy.
Right.
If he's saying jump, we're saying how high, because I care that he cares about me. But yeah, that's something you need when you're going from, I don't know, a WordCo is probably at like in the 1 to 10 stage, but we're in the 0 to 1 stage. It's totally different ballgame.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting. So, obviously, you have a lot of, you're obviously focused on a lot of different things, and you've seen a lot of different things. And, what is kind of your development, process? What does that look like for you as you, work on developing yourself? Obviously, you're developing a business all day long, and you can burn out really quick if you're only focused on developing your business and not developing yourself. So what does that look like every day for you? How are you developing, and who pushes you kind of in that journey?
Man, I wish I could say that I am actively trying to develop myself, but I feel like I'm more just coping. The world is developing me, and I'm coping along the way. Definitely before becoming an entrepreneur, I was very focused on every job that I have. I want to take some learnings. I want to be molded and learn and grow so that I can apply that as an entrepreneur one day. And so I think that's how I was developing. At a WordCo, I got to see a company go from 1 to 10, and now they're going from 10 to 100. At different startups I was at, I was there going from 0 to 1 as employee number 2 or 3. And so it was really just trying to learn, how does a company do this? A company at this stage, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong?
Right.
Now that I'm an entrepreneur, and now that I've been on this journey for 2 years, I feel like my development is listening to podcasts, reading books. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, probably too much time, but taking as much learning as I can from the posts that are shared there.
And dropping a few opinions along the way.
Dropping
Comment
a few
King.
opinions
I'm telling
on the way.
you, he's a follow on LinkedIn, that's for sure.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I don't know that any of that is revolutionary. It's probably the same thing everyone else is doing.
Yeah, no, that's good. What's your favorite book that you've read recently? You mentioned books.
Recently?
That's a
good question.
figure of speech, so it could be a couple of years.
A book I really enjoyed more than I expected, actually 2 books that I enjoyed more than I expected, was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, founder of Nike.
It's slow at the beginning.
It is slow at the beginning.
Get past the first 2 chapters, it gets better.
Yeah, but I love that it was storytelling, and there are business lessons to be taken from that, but it was really, he was like, hey, here's the good things I did, here's the bad things I did, here's where I messed up.
Yeah.
I appreciated the candor of it. And another one that I surprisingly enjoyed was $1 Million Weekend. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't heard of that one, no.
It's
going on my list,
what's
though.
the guy's name? Noah Kagan. He's the founder of a company called AppSumo in Austin, Texas. And I fully expected the book to be a self-serving sales pitch for his business. And it really wasn't. It was full of actionable tips and advice. And I walked away from it with a few new learnings and thinking, wow, that was pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding. I just added it to my want to read list. So now you got me intrigued on that one. I love that, man. And I think like you said, where you're at in your business, you're kind of in that, that grinding stage of building it up. And so maybe, just taking any idea from what you're doing. But I also think there's something to be said about, like you said, you have to be willing to take risk. It's funny because as a second generation guy in a business, I'm probably a little more risk adverse than probably what my dad was. And it's funny because I think you have to be, you change a lot, but I think both sides can learn to take from the other one, right? Like I can learn to be a little more risky because, like, look, that's what grew this business, right? But then he's like, man, there's times I probably should not have taken the risks that I did, right? And so it's a weird balance that you have to learn to strike. But I think when you take the wisdom from businesses going from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and then 10 to 100, I think there are unique things. There are differences between those businesses and those stages and the leaders and who they have to be. But I also think there's probably something that's very similar through all of those stages. A focus on people, a commitment to the clients, and a commitment to, at the end of the day, streamline and efficiency without losing the values and the core of what that business is all about. And I think that, all of those things probably work no matter any stage of the business. What do you think about that?
I completely agree. And for sure, the bigger the business is, the more there is to lose, right? And so you should be more risk averse. But in the early days, like Mallow, it's like there's literally nothing to lose except the clothes on my back. So let's go do the thing, right?
It's funny. I was talking the other day, and I bring my dad up a lot on this podcast because he's kind of my mentor, right? Like he built this thing, and I'm here kind of taking it to hopefully to the next level, doing a good job with what I've been blessed with. But I was like, how would you make a decision like that? He's like, dude, you got to realize, like, I have nothing to lose. It was like, who cares? Let's just do it. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? And I love it, though, because I do think that founder mindset needs to be in more businesses across the country in order for them to be more successful. I think when you get stagnant and when you get, fat and happy and you're just like, hey, I don't need to grow anymore, that's when businesses usually seem to they go backwards, right? Because business is one of those things. It's like being on a treadmill. Like you're either going backwards or forwards. Like you're not going to stand still. There's zero chance you can do that. And I think that's a big lesson that the listeners of this podcast need to take with them, which is, especially coming out of school. I know me and you just did it recently. You cannot try to be the status quo. You cannot try to be average. Being average is going to put you nowhere but backwards. You got to have a lot more tenacity. You got to go after it, and you got to figure out what you want at the end of the day and work hard for it. I think those traits are going to surpass anybody in any business and work for anyone for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have entrepreneurial tendencies, be prepared to not please everybody. Coming out of school, right? Like I came out of school and into my first few jobs, like, let's change things. Let's make a difference. Let's go hard. Let's go fast. Let's make mistakes. Let's make things cool. And that doesn't sit well with everyone. You know what I mean? Like not everyone is an entrepreneur, and that is a good thing. If everyone was, we might be in a world of hurt, but be prepared to come across as maybe a little bit abrasive if that is you. Yeah. And if it's not you, be prepared to accept that from some people as well. Like people are going to come across who have that mindset, and they might come in thinking they're going to, change the world, and they'll be like they'll be met with like, no, that's not how things work here. And maybe a little bit disappointed, but put in their place, and rightfully so. I was naive to think I could go into a business and turn it upside down and make millions of dollars. I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. But it's also, you don't want to push it away from them. You don't want to tell them to not do that, because those are good traits. They just have to be directed in the right way.
They do. And I think kind of going to what you were saying, right? Like you have to find a group of people that you want to work with. I love that you have a co-founder, and you could probably speak to this just a little bit as we kind of close the episode down today. But I always say this around here. I'm like, look, life is too short to work with people you don't enjoy working with, because it's easy to make money. It's a lot more difficult to enjoy the people you work with while you make the money. There's a lot of people in this world that are really good salesmen. I wouldn't want them in my organization. They just would not fit what we're doing here culturally. And I think that is a lot of times what culture is. It's that mixture of personalities, that mixture of skill sets with the same end goal, the same focus as to where we're going long term. So you have to find people that fit what you're doing, right? Like you said, you went in, you had this entrepreneurial mindset, and it was probably a business that was like, look, dude, we're pretty good at what we do. And the whole goal here is to not make changes because we really enjoy consistency, right? But there's other organizations where your attitude would have probably been received very, very well, right? Because of a different stage of that business. So you got to find businesses that fit you, who you are. And as you're looking for jobs out of school, that's something you got to think about. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to contribute? And is this business looking for that ultimately?
Yep, absolutely. And if you are entrepreneurial minded, coming out of school, unless you started something when you were in school in, a program like Sandbox, which there's a few Sandbox programs around here in Utah, and I know they're expanding nationally. You can take a class and your entire classwork is to start a business.
Yeah.
There's no homework, there's no classwork. It's go start this business and you'll be graded on starting it or not.
Totally would recommend that, by
If
the
you're
way.
doing something like that, sweet, go start a business. But if not, and you're coming out of school knowing that you want to start a business one day, do your best to find a business that is brand new and they need to make their first 3 hires. Go be one of those first 3 people. You're going to learn way more there than you will anywhere else.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talk about it around here all the time because we've grown so much over the last 20 years. But people who used to wear 12 hats, right now they only have to wear 3. And so it's you when you work in one of those smaller businesses, you have to be everything. You got to be HR, payroll, sales, marketing, developer, everything, right? And so it's a great opportunity. Chipper, man, it's been great to have you on the show today. Last question I like to ask it every guest. We got a lot of college listeners on the show. We got a lot of people who are trying to figure out what they want to do. They're probably similar to me and you, right? When we were 20 years old, we had an idea, but maybe not exactly what we wanted to do. What is your big piece of advice for them as they try to accelerate and launch into their careers in the next 2 years?
Questions like that make me wonder, am I even qualified to give anyone advice on something like this?
It's a podcast. They're not paying, so, we'll throw it out there.
Yeah. Listen, they paid 0 cents, so that's how much
Yeah.
you pay for what you get,
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out what they're doing. They're 20 years old. If they're 20, they're probably in the middle of college right now. First of all, enjoy it because the rest of your life probably won't be as fun. You'll definitely have a lot. Like, I wouldn't go back to college if they gave me the option.
Yeah.
I'm way happier having a wife and a kid, but I look back on college super fondly. It was a very fun time.
Yep.
Especially at Utah Tech. Go Blazers. But other advice for your career, going into your career, this is easy for me to say because it's how I'm wired, but be tenacious about it. If you want to be the best psychiatrist in the world, then go get internships at the best psychiatry clinics. And if you don't get them, go shoot your shot. If you don't get it, whatever. Who cares? You have nothing to lose. You're a student. But if you do get it, that's going to accelerate your learning way faster than whatever it is you're learning in school. Or if you want to be an entrepreneur, go find a Sandbox program or go find out if your local commerce of business has a startup program, or if they do grants, if they give you grants to go start your own business, or go figure out what's selling on Facebook Marketplace and go do the same thing. Figure out a way to get your learning outside of school as much as you do inside of school, because it's going to be way better for you unless you're trying to become a professor.
I think that might be one of our next one and done commercials right there, dude. I appreciate that because that's exactly the point of this podcast, right? We're trying to teach kids. There's a beauty in college, but in order for you to figure out what you really want to do, you got to go test things while you're in school. You need to take internships. You need to work with the best people in certain fields. You need to learn from them. You need to find mentors. And in doing that, you can hopefully go one and done out of college, right, into your future career early on, have that success, accelerate into your career, and be a disruptor, be an innovator, have a lot of fun while you're doing it. Chipper, man, appreciate you being on the show today. Good luck to you guys. Hopefully y'all have a lot of fun, you and Ben, and I know I'll be paying attention, and if I can ever help in any way, I'll do it, man. Appreciate having you today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackson. It was a pleasure.
Yes, sir.